This week on the Mindful Men podcast.
Talk us through that drive to do your first ultra marathon. Because, like, even just doing a marathon, that's a big thing. But an ultra marathon, that is just massive.
Yeah, like I said, it was just this fascination to go further. So I started running back into 2021. And then middle of 2022, I did my first ever half marathon. I've never running more than 15 kilometers. And then I was like, oh, well, I'll do the full marathon at the end of the year. So I did the Sydney Marathon and I went not too bad considering like I wasn't training. I didn't have a coach, wasn't doing any strength, didn't really know what to do. And then I think 3 weeks later, I was like, I'll just go down to Melbourne and then did the Melbourne Marathon and run faster than I did the Sydney. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I think that was in November. And then December, I signed up to do a 50-kilometer ultra marathon in the Gold Coast. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to do that, I'll just do another one. So then in January 2023, I signed up for the 100K Ultra in Western Australia because like, I'm not really sure why, to be honest. Like now I've realized how naive I was, but running just was never that quote unquote hard for me. Like it was strenuous, but my body was holding up really well. And like all I had to do was not quit on it. And I was all right. I could do that. I could hold on and not quit. But that first 100K Ultra was just a real whirlwind. And it's what sort of galvanized me mentally. Like it was just a really, really tough period. Myself and my mum, we found out 2 days before that my grandfather was sadly leaving us. We had to drive up there and say goodbye. Like when I was a little kid, he would always read me these books called Value Tales. And it was like the value of being a good person or different things. And this really special moment we had together. And when he got dementia in his later years, I actually made up my own version of the Value Tales, like a printed book from Officeworks, and it was called The Value of Being a Grandfather, and it just talked about all the things he did and how he taught me how to ride a bike, catch my first fish, and it was just supposed to be something that my grandma could read to him and that hopefully would jog his memory. The last thing we ever did together is I held his hand and read this book back to him, and it was just this beautiful full circle moment, and it still makes me very emotional just thinking about it. But he was still alive when I left, and it was a really tough moment. Like I remember I was sitting in the airport, we were about to fly over to WA, and it just sort of hit me that, oh God, I'm never going to get to talk to this person again. And, I just started like crying a little bit, and Mum's like, oh, what's wrong? I'm like, oh, I don't want to be that guy bawling his eyes at the airport. Mum's like, who cares? Just feel your pain. And I was sitting there eating a sandwich, bawling my eyes out in Sydney airport. But yeah, it was just hard for me knowing that I was never going to speak to this guy again who was such a massive part of my life. Like I said, he taught me how to ride a bike and taught me like a lot of lessons. Like in a lot of ways, he was like a father figure to me as well, like not having my biological dad there for the whole time. But we got over to Western Australia and he was still there. And then 6 hours before my race, he passed away. And it was a real tough moment for me because I was very emotional. And a lot of me was like, oh, you just don't do it. It's fine. But everything I did my whole life, he was super, super proud of me. And I know that's a way that I could honor him and do that for him. And I know he'd want me to do it as well. And it's just one last way that he could be proud of me. And I took one of his singlets from when he's in the dementia ward, which had his name on it. And I tucked it in my waist and I was like, I'm going to run with this and I know he'll always be with me. And we started at midnight, so running in the dark, and I'd never run at night before, never had a headlamp, and I'm just running this 100K Ultra. Like looking back, it's just so crazy to think what I was doing, but everything was going super well. And then like 30K in, my knees and my quads started going, and I was like, oh God, like I've never had to experience this before. And I think it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and it starts raining. It's pitch black. I'm on this footpath by myself. And it was like a thing out of a movie. I pulled the singlet, I hold it to the sky and I was like, I need you. And I'm crying. But he helped me get through it. I'm not a very spiritual person, but I truly believe he was there with me. And even though it was January in Western Australia, and I think it was 37 degrees by the end of it, and we got through it. And it was something like that where I realized, oh, wow, like I can do so much more than I ever thought. And it's not that I have this amazing body for it. Like it's I have the mind for it. I have this ability to endure, an ability to hold on, an ability not to quit. And yeah, that was kind of the moment where I realized that I can do something great and I can sort of make change. And it was from there that I then had sort of ideas of doing something, but then I still wasn't sure. And then it wasn't until sort of the first few months of 2023, I was like, let's go for it, let's try. And then that's where I got in touch with Ed Brockman's physio, and I also went to them and they sort of started my training plan. And then I got put in touch with Ned's coach, Matty Abel, and we've been together now for about a year. And that's where we've been going through it all. And yeah, that's how the whole idea of sort of the run came from.
I'm interested, like athletes are superstitious people. Has that singlet stayed with you? Do you take it out on all your runs now? What happened to the singlet?
I still have it with me, and it's definitely something that I think I'll tuck in for Brisbane to Sydney. I think I'll need every little drop I can get. And I used to be very superstitious, actually. Like when I used to play footy, I would have to put my boots on a certain way. And I'm not superstitious anymore because, I don't know, for me, I think hard work overrides any superstition that I've ever had previously. So yeah, it'll be with me, but I think it's just because I'll need him there with me. He'll be there every step of Brisbane to Sydney.
And so how has your running evolved since you've now got a coach and a physio team behind you?
Yeah, it's evolved massively. Like literally, it sounds crazy after having run 100K ultras and that, but I had to learn how to run. Like my running form was really poor and I was running from grit and spit and everything I had in me, right? I wasn't really running very efficiently. So it's funny, I got this coach and we're trying to run 1,000 kilometers, but he pulled back my mileage a lot and we focused on just doing incline work and we focused on getting my cadence, which means it's a higher step ratio, which means that, if you have a lower cadence, you're probably overstriding, which means that the force is going up through your heel and it's going to hit your knees and your hip, and it's just unnecessary force going in your body. So just doing a lot of things just to make me a better balanced and more efficient runner, which end of the day, Brisbane to Sydney, it's not a sprint, right? It's just a battle of efficiency. You've just got to be as efficient as you can each day. So yeah, we had to do a lot of work on that, especially nutrition as well, and injury prevention and sort of warming up and cooling down. Like I used to just sort of, I'd roll the legs out and I'd go run 30K. I'd come home and I'd have a beer. I'm like, oh yeah, go me. Whereas now, and I think I was sort of lucky in that just all these little moments I've had in my journey, I've always just believed they're supposed to be there. Like I've had these little injuries here and there, and they've just always come at the right time. Like maybe I've been very lax on warming up or injury prevention or cool down and things like that. And they've just sort of been like, hey man, you need to be a little bit better. Whereas now running is not the run. Like the process is I have my warm up process, I have my run, I have my cool down. And if I don't have the whole time for the run, then I'll shorten the run, because all of those things are a part of it. And I think that's definitely helped. And yeah, just bringing strength in as well. Like I never used to go to the gym. So just to help strengthen your body, like running will obviously build up your endurance, but you need to strengthen your muscles to be able to endure all that load. So that really helped as well. And nutrition was a big one. Like my diet has changed a little bit, but making sure I'm just getting in enough calories because you're burning so much. And for me, with my coach, he said like, a lot of runners just use gels and things like that. But if I try and do gels for 10 days, I'm going to have some pretty hectic tummy issues. So learning how to eat whole foods and stomach that and stop for 5-10 minutes, eat a sandwich, eat some pasta, eat bananas, have like a large Gatorade or some large volume of liquid, and then just go back running. So now my stomach's pretty in tune with that. And, Brisbane to Sydney, if I didn't have a very good tummy, which seems like the last thing you're going to worry about, is probably your legs or your head, but it wouldn't last more than a couple of days. So yeah, there's just, when you first put on your running shoes, you think that's all it's ever going to be. And it's the easiest type of activity, but there's so much more that goes into it than you think. But yeah, I'm just grateful for everything that happened. Like I also had a last man standing ultra in South Australia. So you're trying to run 6.7K every hour. And I'd sort of linked up with a charity, but still didn't feel like I'd earned the right to even say what I was trying to do. And I was trying to use that as a springboard to say like, look, this is what I can actually do when I'm put in a situation where it's in terms of me not giving up. And not like there's no deadline. The deadline of that race was me quitting on myself. And so I was really excited for it. And we were doing a lot of training and everything was going really, really well. And then about 5 weeks before it, I got really, really ill. And it wasn't COVID. I did multiple tests, but I just really had body aches and sick. And I wasn't really able to run more than like 10 kilometers for like 5 weeks. And my last run was, I think, 3K before the race. And my heart rate was through the roof. And I was just body aches. And I was like, oh, God. But, we've already bought the ticket and bought a hotel. So I guess we'll go over there. And flying over there, I didn't feel too bad. But then the day of the race, I woke up with body aches and I was sweating and my heart rate was elevated and I was coughing up phlegm. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm doing a race where you keep going to drop and I'm sick. Like it's probably the worst case scenario. But I was like, well, we're already here, so we'll just try. Also, don't do that is what I should tell people. It's probably not a good idea, but try I did. And, the first few laps were really bad. Like I looked down my watch and it should be saying 130 heart rate and it's saying like 175. And my resting heart rate was like 120, which is massive for me. So I just had to stop looking at my watch. I'm like, if I look at that, it's going to freak me out. So just sort of battled through that. And the first 2 laps, I was like, well, I'm not going to like make 5 laps. Like I was in so much pain, but I just enjoyed. And I was still really happy. And then I did 15 hours. I run 102 kilometers, which is amazing, but I know it's nowhere near my potential. Like I have so much more in me. But to think about like the amount of times where I've had man flu and I've been in bed for 2 days, and to know that I can actually go out and run 100 kilometers when I'm deathly ill, like it's moments like that where I'm like, oh no, I'm a worry. There's no quit in me. When something really means something to me, I can work so much more than I've ever thought for it.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, man flu is a very debilitating condition.
That is true. That is true. We need to shine the spotlight on that.
Yes, we do.
Let's change the podcast to talk about man flu now.
Let's get into the Brisbane to Sydney run, and it's coming up soon. So can you give us the details, like when, where, how is it going to all play out for us so we can cheer you on?
Yeah, so 8th of May is when we're starting. So we're starting in Eagle Farm, which is a little bit back from Brisbane City, and then we're tracking down towards Sydney. So the plan is approximately 100 kilometres a day, broken up into about 4 25-kilometre blocks. I might push a block out to maybe 30 if you're feeling good, but I don't think you'd want to push any more than that. I think breaking into those will sort of make it a lot more doable, and I just think it's like body-wise and load management-wise. I'm very lucky that my physio, she's going to be there, and I think that's sort of invaluable, having someone not only be a physio, but has worked with me and knows my body is going to be massive for me, and having that and to be able to lean on that. So yeah, I think that's going to be really helpful and beneficial. And I've also got a couple of my good mates, and my mum and dad are going to be there. So yeah, it's going to be a fun little sport group. One of my mates is going to ride on a tricycle next to me and drink cans the whole time, throw them at me. So that'll be pretty funny, and I might strangle him by the end, but I think he'll be the pest that I need for it. But yeah, approximately about 100 kilometers a day. And if we're able to do that, then we can get back into the Opera House on the 18th, and that would give me the record.
Yeah, you're saying 25 kilometer, blocks. Like, what's the pace? Because my pace, I'm going to put myself out there. If I'm amazing, 5.5 minutes for a kilometer, but it's usually around 7, 8. I'm plodding along. Like, how fast are you doing per kilometer?
It's going to depend on like incline. So for me, anything that starts to feel above more than a 10% gradient, it becomes like a fast walk. So you've got to picture two nans in a full tracksuit with the visor and the body weights. Like, I'm pumping the legs. I'm going for it. Sort of a slow walk. Yeah, so it'll depend on how much incline there is per day. But for me, running wise, it'll be about 630 Ks when I'm running, and when you're walking about 10-minute Ks. So I think it'll probably average out to be about 13 to 14 hours a day. And I think that'll be the total thing as well in terms of running and stopping and your breaks. I think that's what we want to try and aim for. If we can do the 13 to 14 hours a day, that gives me enough time to try and get some rest and to get in some physio and some wear and tear maintenance.
And so when you hit the Opera House as well, like, is there a big party plan? Like, what are you expecting when you get there?
I'm not too sure. Yeah, like I went down to Bondi Beach when Ned came in, and that was one of those moments where, in life can be really dull and going like that. You could feel the energy and you could feel the positivity and how everyone just was so up, and it was an amazing moment. A lot of the times now when I run, I make sure to stop by the Opera House and I just try and think about like how that moment's going to feel. And for me, it's not that I'm already wishing the journey to be over, because for me, the most excited thing I am about this is the journey. And I know how much a battle it's going to be. And I know that I'm going to have to question my resolve, but I know I'm never going to quit on it. The journey is the whole. If it's just going from point A to point B, anyone could do it. It's a space between point A and point B that you learn who you are. And especially on something like this, like there's actually a lot of room between A and B. But yeah, that's what I'm really excited about. But yeah, whenever I sort of get a chance to run past her, I just sort of stop for maybe 5-10 minutes and just think about the people there and think about, like I said, inspiring people to want to be better, which is what all this comes down to. I'm not saying you have to go out and run 1,000 kilometers or even 100. And I'm not trying to say, oh, look at me, I'm some hero. It couldn't be any further from that. What I'm trying to say is, look what you can do if you decide to make positive change in your life. And it doesn't have to be this massive feat, but I'm saying I have been able to do this by just wanting to be better than myself. I think we all are so afraid of the long way. Like, we're so stuck in our ways and we see the long way and we have this fear of change. But it comes down to, we look at fear like it's this lake, and this lake's kilometers wide, but I promise you it's only centimeters deep. And we're so worried we're going to drown in it, but you won't. And once you step in it, you realize it's nothing to be afraid of at all. Right? The long way could be super hard and it's going to be challenging, but I promise you it's always going to be better than the wrong way. And that's what I did for my whole life. And, living it, knowing that, like, that's just what I want to try and tell people. And then you can make your own path from it. And maybe you want to go run more than 1,000 Ks. Maybe you want to do something else. Like, don't let someone tell you what your limitations are. If you want something bad enough, you can go do it. The power and growth you can create just from wanting to be a little bit better from yourself is what I'm trying to spread to everyone.
Yeah, now you are going a long way. Are you going from Brisbane down to the Gold Coast and then along the coast? Like, if people want to come and cheer you on the side of the road, like, where can they find you? What's the rough route?
Yeah, so that pretty much was a rough route. But once we get closer to the day, sort of each day, we'll make sure we have a pretty accurate run map along there, because I would love that. I'd love people to come along and for people to tell me about their journey, or if I potentially inspired them, like, that would mean so much to me. So once we get closer to the run each day, we'll be posting sort of run updates and like where our sort of stop points will be, so people that if they do want to join the journey can definitely come aboard.
Yeah, and where will you post that? Is this a Facebook group? Is it a website? How do people like tune in and follow your journey?
It'll all be like hard on my sleeve. I'd say we'll post updates, but it'll all sort of go through my Instagram, which is LachyCam_runs. And yeah, everything we post up there, and there'll be daily sort of updates, and probably be like throughout the day, there'll be updates of me like this, or me like this. And like you said, the journey that's going to unfold of putting yourself through that fun.
Yeah, awesome. And you're doing this for charity as well. Can you talk us through who the charity is? Have you got a target in mind? Talk us through that.
Yeah, so the charity's hard on my sleeve, and yeah, like I said, I really believe everything happens for a reason, and every moment sort of happens. And it's funny, like when I used to play rugby, I would always draw a heart on my wrist because I was good, quote unquote, at rugby, but there was no skill involved. I was good because I fucking wanted it more than anyone else. That was it. I wanted that ball like a dog wanted a bone. That's all it came down to. I wasn't the best player on the field, but whenever I was feeling tired, I'd look down on my wrist and say, no, it's heart. It's heart that's going to get me through this. And when I was looking at different charities to do, I was lucky that Mitch Wallace, the founder of Heart on My Sleeve, actually presented to my mum, who works in real estate in like a corporate setting. And she was like, oh, this guy's amazing. You need to see him. And looked into his stuff. And the charity is called Heart on My Sleeve, which is like a funny little tie-in. And he's a very influential person. And he lived overseas and lived a high life in everyone's eyes. But he, like me, was masking and had a lot of internal pain that no one knew about. And he has this video he shared online. And for someone who's masked their whole life, I've watched this video multiple times, and he felt like he took my mask off and was talking to me personally. And it was this really powerful message. And I think that's one thing that I love. And in terms of mental health, is people just sharing their raw and honest stories. And Heart on My Sleeve has that. And there's all these people who share their stories. And I think so much growth can be taken from someone going, hey, look at him or her, look at the things they've been through. They're just like me. Like, I'm not crazy at all. Like, they've been through these things and look what they've become from it. And they also have a lot of free training on their website that people can go and watch. But yeah, I just think the growth that can be taken from that, from just seeing some other person and realizing there's nothing wrong with you. And then from getting to meet him, and just, it was all meant to be, right? Like, that's what it was meant to be, and it just felt right. And I want to try and raise $100,000 for him. Like, that's the thing I've set. But also just more awareness for the work they're doing, and to help get them traction. Like, if people can't donate money, can donate time, or if there's something that can help, like anything like that. But also just people being honest, not, like I said, for so long, vulnerability has been disguised as weakness when it's the purest form of strength. And I want to just change, like, even to this day, if I ask a person what they describe as a strong or man or a strong woman, you'd probably point to some big muscly guy, right? And yeah, that's true, quote unquote, but that's not what I want it to be. I want a strong person to be someone who's not afraid to stand on their own 2 feet and to be vulnerable, because there's nothing to be afraid of about that. You know what I mean? Like, if you're being honest about who you are, and if people don't like that, that's fine, but you can help others by doing that. You can show people who you truly are, and that there's nothing wrong with being yourself and being vulnerable. And I just think that's what a strong person really should be, and that's what I want to try and help people realize.